Pop culture is more than just entertainment. It's a lens into society, relationships, and human behavior. I'm Grace, and here on the Grace Report, we dive into stories beyond the headlines. Whether it's reality TV drama, celebrity scandals, or royal family intrigue, I'm here to break it all down. What it means, why it matters, and how it reflects the world we live in. Join the conversation, share your take, and let's make sense of the culture shaping Pop culture is more than just entertainment. It's a lens into society, relationships, and human behavior. I'm Grace, and here on the Grace Report, we dive into stories beyond the headlines. Whether it's reality TV drama, celebrity scandals, or royal family intrigue, I'm here to break it all down. What it means, why it matters, and how it reflects the world we live in. Join the conversation, share your take, and let's make sense of the culture shaping our lives one story at a time. So, what is going on? Do you guys see me? Guys, I don't know what is happening. Listen, I think I jinxed myself because it's so funny. As I was getting ready for today's show, I was like, wow, how crazy is it that I have not had any single like tech issue, Wi-Fi issue, nothing like that. And lo and behold, this holdup that just took up 5 minutes or almost 5 minutes of our morning time. Oh my God. So it looks like you guys see and hear me. Thank you, thank you, thank you for hanging in there. What a mess. Honestly, and this is one thing that always made me kind of like nervous about live shows and whatnot, is the fact that you never really know what could happen, right? Especially when you're on Wi-Fi and not wired internet. You really just never know. So thank y'all so much for hanging in there. Good morning to you. Happy hump day to you. We've got an awful lot to talk about today. Oh, Lord, I don't know what's been going on with the weather here in Paris, but it has been cold. We've been in the minuses, which has been very odd for us. Typically for us, as cold as it'll get is like what 0, 1, 2, or 3 degrees, but we were actually in the like -2, 3 zone. And I have been crashing out over it, you guys. And the craziest thing is, I always, starting in like October, November, I start taking a lot of vitamin D pills, right? And I lost them in my pantry because I've got so many things going on in there, spices, like dry ingredients and other vitamins and whatnot. And so I completely forgot about them. And then I started feeling like weird and down like over the last several weeks. And I was wondering, well, what's happening? What's happening? Oh yeah, it's because I lost my vitamin D pills. That's why. That stuff, you don't even realize how much it helps you and supports you until it's gone. So I just found it. I just took my first dose within the past couple of weeks. So thank God for that. Another thing that I think I want to get into, and so did I, by the way, Allie. I was like, okay, is this like stream link still going to be valid if I like jump out of it? And thankfully it did. Another thing I really want to get into, you guys, is meal kits. So I'm doing a lot of researching in this moment. Of course, when I was in Canada, I used to use HelloFresh, and they have it here. I don't know if they have good food. And there's another one called Brigade de Véro or something like that. So I'm trying to look at them, compare them, and see what could be possibly the best, because I'm having a hard time with the grocery shopping. It's so hard to like find things that are like adaptable for a bunch of different recipes throughout the week without leaving you with a whole bunch of waste. You know what I mean? Or there's another thing that bugs me is when you go to the grocery store and when you're about to get out of there, there's all of this like little junk food and stuff like that that is like also shiny, and you can't help to look at it and grab some for yourself on your way out, right? So I feel like when you get like a meal kit or something like that, you tell them what type of like diet you're on. And I'm not talking about restrictive diet. It's like, are you vegetarian? Are you like celiac? That type of thing. So you tell them what your objectives are, and then they'll tailor it to you. And you don't have the whole, oh, like, I got to go to the grocery store and like fight against like, you know, whatever sweet treats they've got on promotion. Are any of you guys using those sorts of things at all? Like meal kits, HelloFresh, good food, or whatever else they might be? Do you guys feel like you enjoy it and you think that they're worth it or whatnot? Because back when I was using it, like, you know, again, back in the Ottawa days, like I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. So I am looking forward to finding the right one for me and my needs here and doing it, because let me tell y'all, my boyfriend does the grocery shopping and he is Balkan. So you know what he comes back with? Meat, potatoes, onions, and pickles all the time. So I said, yeah, no, you're done. You're fired. Absolutely not. Thank you so much. You know, I did this new feathered brow trend after meeting with my friend and her niece for Christmas Eve dinner. And I just feel so hip and young because all the Gen Zs are doing it and whatnot. So thank you so much. So it looks like a lot of you guys are into HelloFresh. So it looks like I might have to go back and get into HelloFresh as well, right? It's good. You know, I enjoyed it while I was on it too. I did kind of feel like the portions were a little bit smaller, but it was good. Otherwise, it was very fun and creative. Ali did Factor. I've never heard of Factor. I'm gonna have to look into that too. I'm really trying to compare and contrast and see which one is the best option at this point. Blue Apron, I've heard about it, but apparently it's an American exclusive. And then it looks like Boss Lady got some expired stuff in her HelloFresh, which I hope you got a good refund on, because absolutely not. Now, let's talk about these California fires for a little bit here, okay? So as you guys are aware, the fires are ravaging California in this moment. And there's a story that I thought was both heartwarming and kind of like surprising in a good way, which is that Hilary Duff and her husband are currently housing Mandy Moore and her husband in their home. So obviously Hilary's home was not affected by the LA fires, but Mandy Moore's home burnt down. And I had no idea that these girls even like were friends like that or anything like that. I think that this is just such a heartwarming tale. And I think it's especially like in being a millennial, which I assume quite a few of you guys are also. But these two really were kind of like it girls at the same time. So it's really cool to see that they like are friendly and everything like that. Because when I think of my 2000s it girls, I think of Mandy Moore, I think of Kirsten Dunst, I think of, and this is in the acting world. Of course, singing is a whole different story. But I do also think of Hilary Duff. I think of Lindsay Lohan. Who was there? There was Christina Aguilera. There was Britney Spears, Paris Hilton, Nicole Richie. So to see that there was like some good camaraderie between some of them to the point where like they're actually like staying with each other and whatnot really is sweet. Though I do think it kind of begs the question as well, right? And this is something that Mandy Moore has been saying, which is, and Jimin Hunsu as well. If you guys remember from Monday or Tuesday, Monday's morning report, we talked about Jimin and how he's got this like, you know, facial recognition and name recognition. You know who that guy is, even if you've never specifically seen a film of his. But he's saying, we here in Hollywood are not as rich as y'all think we are, right? Like, you would think that I'm rich, you know, just based off the red carpets and the movies I've done and these movies being successful and everything like that. But no, I am still struggling to make ends meet. And so now the story of Mandy Moore and her husband staying with Hilary Duff and her husband, it kind of makes me think like, maybe Mandy Moore and her husband don't have money that like we think that they do either, right? Because not only this, but there was like a GoFundMe launched for Mandy's like husband's sister or something like that, who also unfortunately lost her home in the fire. And you're just thinking like, why would they be doing GoFundMe's, right? Like, aren't these people rich? And the GoFundMe was initially only for like, and I say only like in the grand scheme of what celebrities are dropping on purses and whatnot, right? Like $40,000, but now they've upped it to 200 and something because people keep on donating to them. So now, it really does make you think, especially post-COVID, right? In the COVID era, we really saw how quote unquote broke. And I say quote unquote because it feels like this is rich people broke, right? But not real broke. But at the same time, rich people are kind of cheap too. So do you think that Mandy Moore and her husband are not as rich as you would imagine? Because Mandy has been working for over 2 decades in Hollywood, just like Jimun. And she's been in a lot of very, 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 very iconic movies and TV shows. Most recently, This Is Us. So why is it that she has to kind of squat at her friend's house versus, I don't know, being put up somewhere else? Or is this kind of just an opportunity to reconnect with a friend? There's a lot of kids involved here as well. I don't know. I do find that to be very interesting. Why would they be launching a GoFundMe for a family member of hers in what was initially only like $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 if she's this rich actress, right? Just a lot of questions that I have been asking myself lately. And I think that we've been seeing some of this stuff be confirmed by certain celebrities who are saying, hey, listen, all that glitters is not gold with us. And yes, Hillary is still with Matthew Coma, which has been quite surprising to me as well. I thought this was kind of one of those like rebound situations or whatever, but it's sticking, and there are 2 kids in. Ali says it's 100% true. One of my friend's dad was a well-known actor and he did not live a very lavish lifestyle. And you know what's wild, or maybe it's the Real Housewives that have rotted my brain. You know how the Real Housewives, they'll brag about having like a purse that costs like $100,000, right? Like the custom Hermes, like the house purse that Crystal and Sutton have and stuff like that. Or when you see that new lady on Housewives of Beverly Hills who was married to the Simpsons founder, she's got all of these very expensive things as well. Like, so you're thinking all these people in Beverly Hills and Hollywood are living like this. If these no-namers are living like this, why aren't famous people? It's been really interesting. All of these things have been exposing the fact that Hollywood relies on a lot of smoke and mirrors for us to have a certain image of these people. Boss Lady says a lot of famous people are not as rich as we think. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Exactly. Look at Spencer and Heidi. And that's another one. People could say, well, Spencer and Heidi have not worked since The Hills, right, in any kind of notable capacity. But even before they were filming The Hills, they were on Laguna Beach, which was this reality show about the OG Nepo babies, right? So you were supposed to believe that these people came from generational wealth, didn't even need to work because of who their parents were, yet these people are still struggling too. And so I hope that all of these stories that are coming out here about these celebrities having all sorts of financial difficulties really reminds people not to overly covet or envy what they perceive others' lives or others' amount of wealth as being, because you never know the true story. And here's another thing about these people. A lot of them might actually be super rich, but lack money management skills, right? And be burning through all that money. How many times do you hear about these football players signing contracts for hundreds, like 300 million plus, and losing all of that? Look at Mike Tyson. Like, you see this a lot too. So it's really, really hard to know what truly is the issue here. And it could be like Hamlet's princess is saying, which is, maybe, they do have money, but maybe they're just like comfortable in a family setting or something like that. But to me, it feels cramped. 2 couples and a bunch of kids. Like, to me, it just feels like a lot for a home, because I know Hilary Duff lives in a big home, but I don't know if it's enough to be living like this comfortably for an extended period of time. But who knows anyway, you guys, lots and lots and lots going on over there. And I do agree, JJ, like, it's interesting how they went from a certain amount, started seeing that people were sending that money in, and then bumped it up. My question to people is, why are y'all sending money to rich people? There's so many people who do not have these big capacities to make money that famous people have, right? Because even if they don't have the cash now, they can work with sponsors, they could work with paparazzi people to stage photos and earn money in so many different ways that regular people cannot, right? So if you've got money and you want to donate it to people, I would more so donate it to people who do not have these same opportunities that I do. But I digress. Oh, Lord. Anyway, speaking of sending money to the rich, which I think should be classified as some sort of illness, let's talk about Brad Pitt. Have you guys heard this story? Brad Pitt, quote unquote Brad Pitt, allegedly scammed a French woman out of 800,000 euros using the following photos. So all you see are assortment of Brad Pitt's head being photoshopped into a bunch of different photos. My favorite one is the one that you see right here on the bottom right, which is like he's under anesthesia and like the head was pasted over like the covers. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at the woman's pain, but wow, no offense, but how gullible and foolish can you be? The fake Brad Pitt even did like this image where it says, "Anne, I love you." And it just, like, he's completely different in every single photo. How do you not stop to think? But listen, the woman who was scammed by the fake Brad Pitt, she was a woman of a particular older age, and these people, unfortunately, are very media illiterate. So for those of you who have been around since like the beginning of my France journey here, you know that when I first moved here, I spent like the first 2 years of my time here volunteering for various French associations, and the one I spent most time with was called Astroyen. And so what we would do was, in light of COVID and everything moving to the digital world, we would teach older people how to use technology. So how to use the phone, how to use the computer. And these people, they knew nothing. It was so eye-opening to me. Like, they'd be like, they'd bring a computer, a really ancient, like, thick computer. And then they'd ask, how do I turn this on? Or they'll be like, oh, like my kid sent me this text message. How do I respond? Or I have this picture. How do I send it to somebody? Like they didn't know anything. How do I turn on the volume? Like they know nothing, right? So when you factor that into it, right? And especially in my case, having seen this firsthand, I do see how some people could be fooled by such terrible photoshopping, especially when their own name is used in one of the images. And I find it to be super duper sad. And, when it comes to this woman, one of the things that's really, really complicated to me about feeling bad for her is that, first of all, she's not even all that old, okay, right? The people I'm telling y'all that I worked with are people who were like 75 plus. This woman was only 53 years old when she started getting conned by the fake Brad Pitt. And not only that, but she was a married woman as well. A lot of people have been asking, how does such a naive woman have access to 800,000 euros, right? Well, that is the gag. She was married when Brad Pitt started contacting her. And at first she says that she didn't even believe that it was a real Brad Pitt. She said, oh, I thought it was fake. It's ridiculous. But I'm not used to social media and I didn't really understand what was happening to me. Apparently, it wasn't until Brad Pitt started sending her personalized poems and like pictures holding up her name and everything like that to prove that that's who he was. That is when she started to fall for this thing. And so eventually, of course, he told her that he needed her help because he lost access to his bank accounts due to the tumultuous divorce with Angelina Jolie. And y'all know that he and Angelina have been divorcing for several years. So he was able to rack up this money over an extended period of time, right? And so it wasn't until she saw in the news that he was actually dating an actress named Ines de Ramon, where she was like, wait a minute, this can't be true, right? But at that point, she had already lost over 800,000 euros. And that money was the money that she got in a settlement from her divorce from her husband. She divorced her husband to be with this man at her big old age, right? She's 53. She's been married for what I assume is well over, a decade or two. And she decides to throw it all away for this fake Brad Pitt. And so there's something that she says at the end of all of this, and y'all are having a riot when it comes to the photos. So let me go ahead and put those photos back up, okay? So there's something that she says to TF1, so TF1, the French station that was interviewing her. And she says, well, why would they do something like this to me? Why? Why choose me? I have never harmed anyone. These people deserve hell. And I'm sorry, but when you full blown carry out an affair behind your husband's back and you decide to leave your husband because you think that you have hit the jackpot with Brad Pitt and that all the money you're sending to quote unquote Brad Pitt is an investment in your future with this guy, you have lost the right to say that you have never harmed anyone, because it is true, right? You harmed your husband. You had an affair behind his back. And what she does with her settlement money is her business. That you can't just sit there and claim that you harmed him. You didn't harm anybody, right? And so I guess this is one of those cases. And I see this all the time when it comes to affairs and whatnot, where people cheat or whatever, thinking that they're going to live a better life with the affair partner, this, that, or the other, and it blows up in their face. So look at it in the case of this woman. And then, if you're watching The Real Housewives of Potomac, you saw it with Gordon and Mia, right? Like Mia is running that man ragged and through hell. And I can't help but think every single time, like, dude, you cheated on your wife for this woman. Like, if you would have just stuck at home with your wife, none of this would be happening. So guys, be careful what you're out here doing, right? Because karma is, it can be ugly and it can come to you in different forms. Your karma for cheating or lying or stealing or whatever might not be that the next person will do the exact same thing to you, but you will feel it in some way. And I do think that this was potentially her karma for what it is that she ultimately wound up doing to her husband. He also says, a married woman with Brad Pitt on the side. Sis was living it up, honey. She was until she wasn't, right? And it is just so mind-boggling to see what really went on. And I did see that Hamlet, and it did remind me of the Tyler Perry situation as well. Yeah, sorry to this woman, but listen, at the end of the day, y'all, what were you doing here? What were you doing here? You had a husband and you should have stuck with that man, right? Because this is just a waste of time. And I don't know how she's going to be able to get the money back. I did hear that the scammer, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, was based in Nigeria, and he was set to be arrested sometime this week or the following week as well. But here's the thing, how do you get your money back? Because yeah, they could make him do time in his country or whatever, and they could potentially tell him to send you your money back. But typically these scammers are part of a larger network. So I don't believe that he actually has the access to the money in this given moment. And I believe that the money has already been, spent and gone by this time. So I don't know, y'all. I do not know. Good luck to her. And at her age now, right? Like, it's kind of hard to get back out there and earn that money all over again. So in that respect, I do feel bad for her, because she could have had a good retirement, retirement, and she has squandered it all away. Do y'all think she's going to reach back out to her husband, try to get back with him? How you doing, big head? Something like that to get back with him, because if this man had $800K to leave her, right, and to split, and he's not foolish like she's foolish, then he probably still has some money lying around, and boy, oh boy, does she need that money. Anyway, speaking of foolish, let's talk about Drake. By the way, you guys, if you're enjoying this stream, please do make sure to go ahead and give it a thumbs up so that YouTube knows that you enjoy my morning report and my content in general, and you do not miss out on a single video that comes your way. Do you guys remember the epic rap battle that took place between Aubrey Drake Graham and Kendrick Lamar? Lots of, very vicious jabs were thrown in both directions, but Kendrick Lamar ultimately wound up winning the rap battle. And Drake, he kind of pulled a Karen. He went and tried to speak to the manager. He tried to accuse Kendrick of lying, cheating, pumping up the numbers to pretend that his song, Not Like Us, was a lot more popular than it was. But here's the thing, and this is a mic check moment, okay? So mic check, 1 2 1 2, y'all. Let me know in the chat if you were watching live, and let me know in the comment section if you are part of my playback posse, my VOD squad, where you're from, and the craziest place that you heard Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us song being played. So I will tell you, y'all know already, I live in Paris. This song, I could not get away from it over the summer. I heard it everywhere, okay? We have these like outdoor kind of like restaurants and bars along the Seine River. It would be bumping at those little restaurants and stuff. And these are like kind of like little hipster restaurants that you think would be playing like lo-fi music or whatever. They were playing Not Like Us on a loop. It wouldn't stop. Like it would end and then they just keep going and going. I remember sitting there and hearing that one song like 4 or 5 times in one sitting, right? And then I remember also going to a gaming cafe, like because my friends and I, we really like board games, a board game cafe. So we go to those things from time to time. They were playing the song as well. So what about you? Where are you from? And where was the craziest place that you heard Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar playing? And I ask you because just to prove that this was a genuinely popular song that people enjoyed playing and listening to wherever it is that they were. And so, yeah, I want to know, what about you guys, where you were hearing it? And if you yourself are like Hamlet's Princess and listening to it on your own, because I too was listening to it on my own. I don't know why, but I love a good diss track in the rap world. I love rap battles, okay? For example, Tupac Hit 'Em Up, I could rap every single word to that thing, everybody's verse. When it comes to the Nicki Minaj versus Megan Thee Stallion, I wore out Hiss and I learned the words. And then this one, I wore out the song Not Like Us as well. And by the way, just a little quick back to the other story about the Brad Pitt scammer. Melissa's telling us if you're charged with financial crimes in Nigeria, you will be put to death. Ooh, listen, if that happens, I hope that gives that woman some sense of solace, but she is still not getting her money back. She unfortunately played herself with that situation. Ash, I don't go anywhere and live in southwestern Virginia, so I had to play it for myself. Houston, my son's football game. Charlemagne just said he heard Drake is going to sue again today on the Breakfast Club. Oh, Lord. Come on, Drake. You already ruined your reputation one time. You don't need to go ahead and do it again. And Malen is from Denmark. Ali, you heard Not Like Us at church. What type of church are you going to? That sounds hip AF. AJ, I'm from Montreal, Canada. I heard it on a terrace. Drake is an embarrassment. Chicago in the house. Theo's never heard this song. And Theo, you're all the way over there in Florida. How have you never heard this song? I thought it would have been popular, in your neck of the woods too. Hey, Britt, so nice to see you. You know who you look like? You look like that girl in the season of The Ultimatum who had to leave early. I think her name is Chanel or something like that. You look just like her. So thanks so much for joining. I'm guilty of playing that song for every situation. Mad at my job, play Not Like Us. Mad at the government, play Not Like Us. NDR, that is hilarious. Julissa says, I am from Colombia for a week and we went to an island party and heard it. Bunch of non-English speakers singing the ish out of that song. You see, you guys, we've got people from everywhere who heard that song. Okay, like it was a super duper popular song. So I do not think that this was, listen, it could have potentially been made popular by Payola. I don't know, but I don't think that is what kept the momentum up. I think a lot of people just don't really care for Drake, and we're happy to see him get embarrassed. So let's talk about him pulling his legal complaint, which I feel like is worse than just going through with it, right? Because at this point, you already ruined your reputation as a rapper by even going to talk to the manager, taking it legal, right? So why go ahead and pull your complaint? I think that's just keep going. The reputation's already shot. Keep going. Come on now. Anyway, so Drake's attorneys made a pair of legal filings in November, stating that their intent to investigate if UMG works with Spotify and iHeartRadio to artificially boost the popularity of Kendrick Lamar's song. The filings also claimed on, quote, information and belief that bots and other forms of payola were utilized to inflate the song streams and that Universal was complicit in, quote, defamation by supporting a song that accused Drake of being a certified PDF file. Okay, you guys? And so Spotify, everybody involved obviously said that this was not the case. They had nothing to do with that. But no, listen, Drake said, you know what? Never mind. His company, Frozen Moments, voluntarily withdrew his pre-action filings against UMG and Spotify. And one of the things in his filing, his initial filing, was an order to show cause seeking pre-action disclosure and preservation of certain documents and communication. You know what? I gotta tell y'all, I think that Drake might have withdrawn this because it would have shown that payola has been used to help bolster his own career and the popularity of his own songs as well. Because Drake gets pushed very heavily to us. Taylor Swift gets pushed very heavily to us. You know, there are a lot of artists who get pushed very, very heavily to us, and we don't always know. I gotta tell you, for example, one of my biggest things where I was like, I'm pretty sure that's payola, was Cardi B's Bodak Yellow. I'm sorry, but that is an objectively, like, in my opinion, so maybe not objectively, so subjectively, bad song, right? But it got played so much that eventually you're kind of like, whatever, like, let's get into this bop. So I feel like I have seen payola in action, but I don't know that I would attribute it to this song in particular. But I digress. Y'all let me know in the chat if you're watching live or in the comments section if you're a part of my playback posse. Now, in the meantime, give me a little bit for a water break. And when we come back, we are going to continue the rest of our morning report. We're going to talk about Diddy. Diddy is speaking out about the freak off tapes. There are 9 of them, we now know, and his legal team is saying that they featured consensual activity with Cassie. We're going to talk about Kate Middleton's hospital visit and how it seemed like a failed attempt to upstage Meghan Markle's Netflix show. Sofia Vergara apparently has a new lover on her hands, and we've got photos of them together. Justin Baldoni, he is now telling Disney and Marvel to save some evidence that he needs for a lawsuit. And I actually think that he's got a pretty good, juicy angle on his hands. Kanye West reunited with his children. And it's kind of funny because we just spoke about it in yesterday's morning report, how it had been about 118 days. So half a year since the last time he was seen with his kids or photographed with his kids. And now it turns out that the kids are in Japan visiting him as the Kardashians deal with the LA fires. And then lastly, speaking of the LA fires, we're going to leave off on a positive note with Teen Mom star Cheyenne Davis opening up her home to help people dealing with all of this, okay?
The morning report is brought to you by Philo. Watch your favorite shows and movies from over 70 different channels, including MTV, TLC, WeTV, and more for only $28 a month. Get a free trial today by clicking the link in the description box of this video to get your free trial up and running. Are you looking for the perfect skincare products for women over 30? Look no further than Verthia. Verthia is a skincare brand born from love and made for parents. Their flagship product, the Resilience Cream, delivers clinically proven age prevention benefits such as average 14% wrinkle reduction after 4 weeks of use. Click the link below and receive 30% off your first purchase today.
We are back. Sorry, guys. I think anytime I play a video or whatever, it is going to cause me grief today. So I don't know if you guys heard my little recap of what we were about to get into, but the next story on our agenda for today's morning report is Sean P. Diddy Combs. Did you guys hear about this? About him acknowledging the freak off tapes and now this time saying that they were consensual? We've got an awful lot to discuss here. So we know that there are 9 tapes, and in these 9 tapes, they all feature Cassie, okay? And he's now saying, listen, everything that went down in these games, y'all, were fine, right? So let's get into what it is that he exactly said. I've got the exact document right here for you guys. Let me go ahead and show you a little bit of a preview of the document, then go ahead and read it on the back end here, because I know it can be rather difficult to read on the full screen. So as you can see, this is the document that I am going to be reading off of. Let me put a photo of the two of them up, and then let's get into what his defense is, shall we? So this is from the desk of his attorneys. The 9 videos at issue are the so-called freak-off tapes with victim 1, who we know as Cassie, that the government has repeatedly referenced, causing wild speculation in the media. Contrary to what the government has led this court and the public to believe, the so-called freak-offs were private actual activity between fully consenting adults in a long-term relationship. Like many Americans in the privacy of their own bedrooms, they sometimes film their actual activity. Y'all, is this actually like a thing that many people do? Are y'all filming this stuff? Because if you are, let this be a warning to you that the other person does not get rid of them. Do you want for your ex to be walking around with this sort of content about you? Listen, everybody's answer is different, but just some food for thought, right? These videos unambiguously show that the person alleged in the indictment to be victim 1 not only consented, but thoroughly enjoyed herself. And then all of this has been blacked out. The recordings corroborate what witnesses have told the government, namely that victim 1, so Cassie, the recordings also directly refute the allegations that Mr. Combs kept these videos as collateral. These recordings were not on Mr. Combs' devices and were not seized from his homes. Rather, victim 1 kept these videos on her own device for years and produced them to the government herself. So now I got to ask you guys, why do you think Cassie kept these things? Right? Why do you think she kept these videos? To me personally, I think that she probably kept them because she knew he was going to keep them. And it was kind of like, oh, you think you can blackmail me with these? Let me blackmail you with these, or let me hang on to them just in case, because I know that you wouldn't like someone else having this type of thing about you. So I don't think that Cassie being in possession of these tapes means that she enjoyed herself or anything like that. It's kind of like something that Ali said a little bit earlier, which is that she already said that she was plied with drugs and alcohol and all sorts of things for a very, very long time and forced to go along with these things, right? So I don't think it's a good enough defense. And again, when you see that video, I'm only going to put up a still, but when you see that video of her trying to escape from him in the hotel corridor, she doesn't even have shoes on. That's how desperate she is to make her escape while he takes a shower. And he desperately comes out running in a towel to beat her and drag her back into the hotel room. You can't tell me that someone like that is enjoying themselves and they're trying to get away from the very thing that is on video. To me, once this stuff leaked and dropped, any defense that Sean P. Diddy Combs was going to try and levy was null and void in my head already. I don't know if y'all feel the same way. Let me know. But that is how I feel. There is nothing he can say to defend himself at this point. Okay. Let's continue on. The last bit says, moreover, contrary to innumerable sensationalistic media reports, the videos do not depict ex-parties. There are no secret cameras, no orgies, no other celebrities involved, no underground tunnels, no minors, and not so much as a hint of coercion or violence. Far from the government's lurid descriptions, the videos show adults having consensual sex, plain and simple. At bottom, this case is about whether victim 1, or Cassie, was or was not a willing participant in her private ex life with Mr. Combs. The videos confirm that she plainly was. So, I wonder why it's mainly the Cassie stuff that's coming out here, because listen, the Cassie stuff we already heard about, but I was more curious why it's coming back up here. Does anybody have any kind of an idea? I have to go back and do an overall overview because, like I told you guys the other day, I'm kind of P. Diddy'd out. I am P. Diddy'd out. I am Allison Hokered out. I am Twitch and not Twitch. I am Justin Baldoni and Blaked out, right? So I have to go back and do some further digging on this and see where they're at with the federal investigation into him and everything like that. But yeah, honestly, I don't think this is a good excuse at all. Cassie has the tapes, so what? That does not automatically mean that she was willing. So they do kind of do a little bit of a thing when it comes to other people being named, right? Because a big name that had been popping up for a long time is J-Lo. Another big name is Jay-Z. Another big name is Beyonce. And he's saying none of those appear in the 9 tapes. So 9 tapes that are there feature exclusively he and Cassie. But here's the thing. Diddy's a liar. He's a proven liar, right? Because he said he never laid a hand on her or any woman. And we clearly saw that he did. He laid not only a hand, but 2 hands, the left and the right. We saw him lay 2 legs on her, 2 feet on her. We saw him lay a vase on her head, all sorts of things. So can he be trusted? I personally do not think so. Okay. Let me see what some of you guys have to say. Melissa says, I don't agree with that. I think whatever you do in the bedroom with your partner should stay private, not for the world to see or your children will see someday. It's very risky business, you guys, taping or having photos or whatever. I know with Snapchat, like you're notified if the person takes a screenshot and they're not able to keep it. But people, you know what you can do? You could take a screenshot by having 2 different devices. A lot of people have 2 different devices, right? If it's not a second phone, it's a computer that they will take a picture of through their computer and then go back and crop it out later. Like, be very, very, very careful out here. Very, very, okay? Good luck to Cassie and good luck to everybody. I still think that Diddy is guilty. I think he's going to be spending the rest of his life in jail, in prison. And I think that that is the way it should be, just based off some of these heinous allegations and things that I have seen from the evidence that has come out thus far. Okay, you guys, oh God, that guy just disgusts me in every way, shape, and form. So you guys, I have to talk to you guys about this story, okay? And this story, I know it's going to ruffle some feathers, but one thing about me is I always have to be honest about the way I see things and the way I feel things, okay? So let's talk about Kate Middleton. As you guys are aware, last year, Kate Middleton, she underwent abdominal surgery, and then she kind of went AWOL, missing, and people were making all sorts of memes, wondering what happened to her, like nobody knew, right? Then she pops back up on a bench, and she says that after the surgery or during the surgery, or I think when they were taking biopsies, they found that cancer had been present in her body and that she was undergoing preventative chemotherapy. And I forgot to mention that there was also like this kind of like major photoshopping scandal, right, for the Mother's Day image and everything like that. It was a huge, huge deal. Like it was Twilight Zone level huge, right? Like that photoshopping scandal led to Kensington Palace being officially listed as an untrustworthy source. They were up there with Iran. They were up there with North Korea. Like it was bad, and they are still regarded as untrustworthy sources, okay? And then she did the bench video where she announced that cancer had been present in her body. She was going to be undergoing chemotherapy. And then what happened? She kind of disappeared for a little bit. She would pop up here and there for little events. For example, she popped up for Trooping the Color. Then she popped up for Wimbledon. Then she popped up for a Christmas concert, right? And so people had been wondering over the past year, why is it that we hadn't seen her at a hospital or anything like that? And yesterday, she and her team released that she had popped up to a hospital. And so here is the photo from her Instagram page. And I'm going to read to you guys the caption. She was talking about how, and I quote, "I wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you to the Royal Marsden for looking after me so well during the past year. My heartfelt thanks goes to all those who have quietly walked alongside William and me as we have navigated everything. We couldn't have asked for more. The care and advice we have received throughout my time as a patient has been exceptional. In my new role as joint patron of the Royal Marsden, my hope is that by supporting groundbreaking research and clinical excellence, as well as promoting patient and family well-being, we might save many more lives and transform the experience of all those impacted by cancer. And she followed that up by also saying the following: it is a relief to now be in remission. So she made that announcement, and I remain focused on recovery. As anyone who has experienced a cancer diagnosis will know, it takes time to adjust to a new normal. I am, however, looking forward to a fulfilling year ahead. There is much to look forward to. Thank you to everyone for your continued support. So she makes this announcement. She visits the hospital. And I gotta tell you guys, I'm sorry to those of you who are, lovers of this family, but I think it was calculated. It was announced about several weeks ago that Meghan Markle's Netflix show was going to be debuting on January 15th. And then after that, the fires broke out in LA and it had to be postponed. I don't think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden, a year after all of this stuff, Kate finally goes back and visits a hospital and thanks a team, the day before Meghan Markle's thing was supposed to drop. I think that when they heard that her show was going to drop on the 15th, they arranged for this to be done on the 14th to try to get some of the headlines and everything like that. And then to kind of do it in a way for plausible deniability, which is by doing it the day before. This would not be the first time that they have done this, right? And this is not even any significant anniversary or date or something like that. It is just, I think that it is just far too coincidental, especially, when everything that Charles was doing, he almost immediately after visited the hospital. He thanked his actual team and everything like that immediately. There's something else. I'm sorry, you guys. There are just so many things fishy with the story, from the photoshopped images to her team initially saying there was no cancer. Don't worry, you guys, there's no cancer. She's doing this thing. And then her sitting there and never actually saying she had cancer. She only said cancer cells had been found, which I felt was a little bit of an odd way of wording these things. But then there's something else that's really weird about what she said to some people during her visit. So let me go ahead and pull up a quote of hers. Okay, you guys. So she told everybody, and I quote, "Everyone said to me, please keep a positive mindset. It makes such a difference." Okay. I really felt like I needed to get the sun. You need loads of water and sunlight. So this is what she is giving to people as advice who are going through chemotherapy. So I said, well, typically when you're undergoing chemotherapy, the advice is that the sun can be harmful to you, right? So I looked online, and what do the results come out as saying, you guys? There's a lot of things that are just not adding up. So let me go back and see. Princess Kate's advice is to people, go out in the sun, while you're dealing with chemotherapy. So the University of Rochester Medical Center says sun protection is crucial during and after treatment. Chemotherapy and radiation can increase your sensitivity to the sun, putting you at risk for burns. Even if you're not sunbathing, it's important to take precautions anytime you'll be outside. And then a different medical outlet had the same thing to say. This time we are going into the Cancer Council of Victoria in Australia. What are the effects of sun during chemotherapy? Some chemotherapy drugs may cause your skin to peel, darken, or become dry and itchy. During the treatment and for several months afterwards, your skin is likely to be more sensitive to the sun. You may find your nails also change and become darker than usual or develop ridges or white lines across them. And then the last outlet that I looked at, it was, let me go ahead and pull this up, Fox Chase Cancer Center. They said, it's hot outside and that can be dangerous, especially for people with cancer. There are a few reasons for the added risk. Some medications used in cancer treatment can make it more difficult for your body to regulate its temperature. Chemotherapy and radiation can make your skin more sensitive. So to me, I'm feeling like, is that not something that she would know? Is that not something that her doctor would have told her? Because it seems a little odd to encourage this when it seems to be something that is more so dangerous, right? I feel like there are some things that you should know based off what you're telling us is going on. These things are just not adding up. I'm sorry, y'all. There's just too many things that are weird about what is going on with this story. Boss Lizzie says, if they're untrustworthy, why are we still paying taxes on top of them not even working and scamming the entire world? Abolish the monarchy and give us back our diamonds and gold, right? Yeah, you guys. Yeah, I'm seeing both sides here, you know. It seems like people are kind of like starting to ask questions about what's going on. Another thing that's been interesting about them ever since they were exposed for photoshopping is that they refuse to send official photos anymore, right? So they went with their photography team and everything like that, but they released the photos through Instagram. And the reason that they release photos through Instagram is because they cannot be verified, right? You cannot point out photoshopping in Instagram photos because you do not have the raw data to do that. And to me, it's like, would you not want to be proving yourself as a trustworthy source, especially if you are a publicly funded and you're supposed to be some sort of like representative for the Commonwealth and the government? Very, very strange stuff. Very, very strange. But listen, y'all, I am going to continue to keep an eye on them because I don't know, they're just very unsettling to me. I think that something definitely did happen, but I feel like we still don't know what the truth is about what was going on, you know, and I find that to be disappointing, right? Because they're supposed to be representatives. They're supposed to be honest. They're supposed to be transparent. They're supposed to be open. And it's just not looking like they are interested in doing that. You know, to kick off 2025, continuing to mislead the public and to bypass official channels, right? To bypass verification of your photos and whatnot. It tells me that you're intending to continue to lie to us throughout this year. So keep an eye out on them, you guys. Lots and lots and lots going on there. By the way, my thing is starting to freeze. I want to Sorry, I had to come back out there. I don't know where I left off on, but I did want to say, you know, by putting those photos out there the way that they did, which is by bypassing the official channels, right? The way that they're supposed to be doing it so that they can be verified, they're telling us that we're committed to continuing to mislead the public. We are not interested in regaining the public's trust. And I find that to be extremely, extremely problematic. And obviously they are in bed with the press because the press is refusing to call them out on this. But I digress. The next story that I have for you guys is Lewis Hamilton and Sofia Vergara. Apparently the two of them just had a date together. I've got a photo. Shout out to TMZ for this, but it was a photo of them spotted outside of a restaurant where they enjoyed a lovely lunch together. To be honest with you, I don't see this being like some sort of like a relationship sort of a thing. Like I thought Sofia was in a relationship with some sort of a doctor. I don't see it. I don't, because Sophia is used to dating like a certain kind of a guy who like has a certain kind of a style. And I see Lewis Hamilton, who is a very successful guy, right? As I see him here with his fuzzy hat and his, Uggs or whatever it is he's wearing, I don't see her being attracted to him stylistically speaking. Look, by contrast, how chic and elegant she is, right? And when you look at her exes, they're kind of like the suited and booted type. So I don't think it's that easy to go from like this kind of like style of man and how he presents himself to a completely different one, no matter how attractive or how successful the other guy might be. I think that perhaps there was some sort of collaboration more so, maybe. And you know what, Melen, you might be right. I think they might be after me. They don't want me telling the truth about their scams. Hamlet, have a great day at work. So I don't see it, y'all. And I don't remember hearing that she and the doctor even broke up. What happened there? Anyway, I'll keep an eye on that. I think what really more so happened was most likely that they were meeting for some kind of, maybe they're going to be shooting some sort of a bit together. Maybe they're going to be co-collaborating on a project. But I can't see love there. Now, you guys, there's a big story that I really wanted to get to, and I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys. It is about Justin Baldoni. Again, I'm sick and tired of the Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively situation, but there's a little bit of a breakthrough in this new motion that he filed in court, and I wanted to share it with you. I came running, practically tripping over my feet. So he is now involving, we knew that he sued Sony, right? And now he's involving Disney and Marvel in his lawsuit. He is asking them to hold on to all documents related to the various characters that Ryan Reynolds played in Deadpool and Wolverine. So that was a movie where Ryan Reynolds played a whole bunch of different characters. And Justin Baldoni is saying that one of the characters was specifically created to mock and bully him. And that character was Nice Pool. Okay. So do you guys remember Nice Pool in the movie? Let me go ahead and pull up a photo of him. Nice Pool was the one Deadpool character who showed his face. He ran around with a little dog and everything like that. That is Nice Pool. And so there's a certain point where he's first introduced to the show, and he makes a joke about like an intimacy coordinator. Don't forget the intimacy coordinator, right? And so Justin Baldoni is saying that that was very obviously a dig against him, which at the time, because I watched this movie in theater, I didn't notice anything because I didn't know that there was anything wrong with It Ends With Us. But now knowing what I know now about his beef with Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively, it makes sense that would have been a dig against him, right? And then there's also another moment where he says something that's considered offensive. I don't remember exactly what it was, but then he shrugs it off by saying, oh, it's okay, I'm a feminist. And that was like a big part of Blake Lively's problem in the lawsuit against Justin Baldoni. She said that, like, this guy is a fake feminist. He does a lot of terrible things behind the scenes, allegedly, and then he hides behind being a feminist in public. So to me, those two things already indicate that, yeah, potentially there could be something going on here, right? And so, oh, and Theo, I did too. When I first saw this lawsuit, I said to myself, oh God, Justin is never going to work in Hollywood again. He is shooting himself in the foot. He does not have a case. But now when you see these things, and wait for the ultimate pièce de résistance, is that in the Deadpool movie, Lady Pool, who is Blake Lively, pulls out not one, but two guns, and she kills off this character that is supposedly based on Justin Baldoni, right? So there's another thing that shows that maybe, just maybe, this whole thing was based off of their beef behind the scenes. Take a look to your left. What is Nice Pool being killed in front of? That is none other than a flower shop. So there's the feminist dig, there's the intimacy coordinator dig, and there's Blake Lively doing the killing, and Justin Baldoni's alleged character, right, is being killed in front of a flower shop. And a flower shop is where Lily Bloom from the film It Ends With Us works, right? So it does seem like he does have a somewhat solid case at the end of the day here. And I'm really, really curious because all he needs now is correspondence, anything that links him to this character. And I do wonder if perhaps Ryan Reynolds had it in writing anywhere, because if he did, then this is as good as gold. So now that you see some of the points that he has here, right, to show that there was an attempt to humiliate or mock or bully him or base the character on him, what do you think? Do you think that he's got a point? Because again, at first I wasn't feeling it, but now I do think that there is something to some of his allegations. And you know what, Theo? I actually thought the same thing too. Theo says, nice pool seemed to me a stereotype poking fun at Canadians, which Ryan Reynolds is. So I'm not sure if this is an attack towards Justin Baldoni. I thought so too when I was watching it. I was like, oh, that is so definitely the Canadian stereotype, especially when he's like, oh, sorry, excuse me, pardon, that sort of thing, right? Which we are, known for, right? But when you look at the flower shop and then the Blake kills him off and then the intimacy coordinator and stuff like that, it seems like a series of very, very, very specific coincidences. And it's like Boss Lady says, it could be a reach, but you really never know in Hollywood, right? So and that's very, very, very weird. So we're going to have to go ahead and see how that ultimately winds up playing out. I'm going to let y'all know as it continues to make its way through the courts. Now, we got to talk about Kanye West seeing those kids again, because remember, it had been a very long time since he had seen his kids. And it turns out that the LA fires reminded him that he had children. Per usual, he's pretty much only ever photographed with North, although there were some photographs, but I lost track of them, of him with the other kids as well. But here he is with Northwest and Bianca in an older photo that I had to use. But the kids are with him in Japan. He and Bianca right now, they are all safe and they are all having a great time there right now as the family stays behind in LA to deal with the aftermath of the fires. They were actually spotted yesterday at a 7-Eleven convenience store in Tokyo's Ginza district. Now, I gotta ask you guys, what is with Kanye West and this sort of stuff? Like, anytime you see him out, he's typically at like a McDonald's or like some kind of like convenience store. Like, it doesn't seem like this man eats well. So I'm kind of curious, is this like a bit or something like that? Is this to appear relatable? Like, does he have collaborations with 7-Eleven? Does he have collaborations with McDonald's? Like, what really is going on there? So I don't know, y'all let me know. But as I wait for those comments to trickle in, my computer is not great today. So your messages about the prior story, which was the Deadpool story, are trickling in. Boss Lady says kind of makes sense, but we need to see the evidences. I agree, even if it's true, I think that's not even a big deal. Many characters are based off of someone. Where do we draw the line? Great point, Ash. And I still think that he might be ruining his chances of working again in Hollywood. Like Blake, again, at least she's got the Nepo baby thing and she's got the husband, she'll be fine. But Justin Baldoni, like, I don't know what he's going to be able to do after all of this. Theo says, if this is true, it shows how petty Ryan and Blake are to include a scene like that in a movie. If anything, it sounds like they're making light of the harassment issue. If this is even real, I can agree. Jaleesa doesn't think that it's a reach, right? It's another level of pettiness if true. Okay, y'all. Well, I guess, listen, if people know I want to know what's going on. Why is he always like at these kinds of places? There's nothing wrong with them. I would kill to have a slushy, have good weather to have a slushy, but And apparently, according to Ali and Marta, the 7-Elevens in Japan have good quality convenience food. All right, y'all. All right. But what is with him? Like, why is he not going to like the 5-star things or even like, I don't know, a local thing, right? Like, what's with these chains, like, chain box things like a McDonald's or a 7-Eleven? You would think that you go and try out something local, right? But I digress. Listen, we all travel in different ways. I did also want to leave you off with a second feel-good story because yesterday we left off with kind of like a sadder story. So let's get into the next story. Shout out to all of you who know me from the Teen Mom stories and whatnot. I've got another Teen Mom story for you guys. We are 2 for 2 this week so far. Cheyenne Davis from Teen Mom Next Chapter. There she is with her husband, Zach, and her and their children, Ryder and Ace. So They have been affected by the LA fires, thankfully for them, not directly in the form of their homes personally, but people that they know have been impacted. And so the two of them decided to transform their home into a donation center for wildfire evacuees. And I think that it's really, really incredible what it is that they have decided to do. Speaking to KTLA, Cheyenne said, I'm from Altadena. I was raised in Altadena. My church is in Altadena. Our schools, my family home, all of my family members and friends are from Altadena, have lost their homes. We live in Porter Ranch, so it didn't affect us as much as it affected the world around us. And just seeing firsthand how this was affecting people, it just laid heavy on my heart. And so using her social media platforms like Instagram and Snapchat, she was able to raise a lot of money. She said she couldn't sleep one night and started on Amazon wish list, put about 100 things on it and posted it on Snapchat. Quote, I checked it within 5 minutes and everything on it was purchased. The list continued to grow as more people reached out with suggestions. And Cheyenne noted that at one point there were 1,600 Amazon orders all scheduled to be delivered to her house. They decided to host the donation center at their house after volunteering for 2 days and realizing how impersonal and overwhelming the experience could be for wildfire victims. She continued on to say, this is a very intimate and personal thing, so it's hard for someone who's not used to asking for help to go to a big public center and have to sort through clothes that are on the floor. We've been able to open our home to not only people sending things, but also people who are like, hey, my daughters are in high school and can we come in and shop at your house because they're embarrassed. So, you know what? Good for her. And they do plan to keep their donation center going on as long as the community needs it. And I think this is a wonderful, wonderful story about someone doing something about a tragedy that has happened in her area. And, you know, I'm really, really, really happy to hear that this is what she is doing. You know, it's hard enough to kind of be paralyzed by the feeling that there's nothing you can do to help other people. So for her to spring into action with the Amazon list and whatnot, the only thing I have to say is, unfortunately, not everybody is an honest and good person, right? There are people who prey on situations like this. So I hope that Cheyenne and I hope that the people donating are vetting the people who are asking for these donations. You hear, unfortunately, all the time that good, kind people like Cheyenne and her supporters have been taken advantage of by bad people who look for opportunities like this to scam and get a come up, you know? And so I really, really do hope that everybody who is profiting off of her generosity is a good, kind, honest person. So, you know, God bless her and her family and everybody who is doing what they can, you know, for all of their efforts. Okay, you guys. Now, I'm seeing a lot of support for Cheyenne. So good for you, Cheyenne. That really, really is awesome. East Awesome, speaking of awesome, says, did we already discuss Kyle's texting PK amid the divorce? Oh, Lord. No, we have not. And you know what? While we're on it, let's talk about that. How do you guys feel about it? So there was a scene in last night's episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills where Kyle kind of, you know, exposed that she lied in the previous week's episode. Previously, she said that she only talks to Dorit's estranged husband, PK, in the form of memes and just funny things, never anything personal. But then in yesterday's episode, she whips out her phone, and something that struck me as odd was that she doesn't even show off the actual like conversation chain between them, only a screenshot, which it showed that she had something to hide, right? And so she says, look, this is what I sent PK. Listen, I have never betrayed your trust. Anything you tell me stays with me. So, you know, just tell me how you're feeling, that sort of a thing, which I do think was incredibly, incredibly inappropriate to do behind your friend's back. We already know that that is not something that she would appreciate if people were doing to Mel, especially because Mel has a history of cheating. But that's another thing that irritates me about Kyle too, is that Sutton, you know, she called out the cheating thing, and then Kyle acted shocked and like she didn't understand where that came from when she very heavily hinted at Mauricio cheating, right? In the divorce season and whatnot, and we all already know that the man cheated hella times in that marriage. So I don't know, the girl, she's very, very fake. I used to love her. I really, really did. She used to be amongst my faves in the early days of Beverly Hills, but just something changed about her, and it's really disappointing. Theo says, notice how open and honest Kyle Richards showed the women a screenshot. Exactly, not the actual text thread. I cannot stand her. Exactly. And if that were anybody else, she would be digging into them. You know, she really goes hard on people, but she doesn't hold herself to that same standard of openness. She would be furious. Exactly, Allie. Exactly. East Awesome says, Kyle lives on her own planet, and I seriously question her judgment. She shared an incriminating text. It's nuts. Exactly. That was not pizza party behavior, Kyle, which, by the way, I didn't actually get to fully watch the episode. I only saw a clip on, I think it was Instagram Reels or something like that. So what I'm about to do, I'm about to go to the natural shop. You know, we have this shop. If you guys ever come to France and you're into skincare, hair care, things like that, and just like natural herbs medicine, go to this store. It is called Aroma Zone. And you will find all sorts of wonderful, like, botanical supplies and whatnot. So I'm going to go there to get some hair stuff, because this weekend, I think I'm going to do something with my hair. I might get braids or something like that. I don't know. Something like that. But anyway, guys, so sorry for all of the technical issues I had today. I really did jinx myself by rejoicing in the fact that I didn't have any technical issues in, you know, all these episodes that I've done. I think we're at episode 20 something. And now look, I went through hell and you guys went through hell, but thank you so much for sticking around nonetheless. And I look forward to coming back, and je touche le bois, I knock on wood, that there will be no issues tomorrow. Okay, you guys, take good care of yourselves. I'm going to try and share some stuff from my little visit to Aroma Zone as well on Instagram. Feel free to follow me there, Grace Report, and I'll see you for tomorrow's morning report. If you enjoyed this, please do make sure to give the video a thumbs up. Bye now.